Johnson.
Here.
Rhodes.
Here.
Simmon.
Here.
Thank you. Could we stand for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mark, the agenda is as written, or do you have any changes? Or
No
additions?
no changes, Mayor.
Thank you. No special orders today. We do have a study session. This is Heather's yearly update on what's going to happen this summer, pretty much. Heather?
You want to do the minutes?
We're going to do this first because that's what I meant to.
Gotcha. I don't know what I'm doing here, I'm sorry. There you go. Okey doke. So, yep, this is Mayor Seth, it's our annual update on construction projects, and this is not right by me. So I'm just gonna go over, all the different divisions essentially, and then, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me, and I can go further into detail. But essentially, what we're doing right now in DPW is we're getting everybody ready for the spring cleaning. We'll see the street sweeper out on the streets here in the next couple weeks. And internally, we've been working with Ferris State University to basically beautify the downtown so that when they have their parade on April 12th, the Ferris football team will have Ferris flags, similar to what they did last time when they had their parade. Then we'll go to Artworks and we'll get the new banners and put those up. And this year we intend on doing the brick sealant. So the bricks downtown, try to do those every 3 years. Last year was our third year. We missed the opening to do that, so that's this year's intent. Parks. So everybody knows we purchased the restroom, and so we have just some final things to do with that, electrical, sidewalk, to be put in. Our skate park, the apparatuses will show up here in mid-June, and they will be put up in about a week's time, and then the park will be open to use. Matter of fact, a lot of people have been using it already, bicycles and stuff of that nature. Hemlock Park is going to have a event scheduled for May 24th. You all are invited. Steve Gove has been working with John Coles to get that event put out there. I don't know what the time is for that. Did we nail that down?
11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay. And so that's when we'll have the splash pad kind of like christening where the kids can press the button, and we're working with the Hanson family for that. We have been in early conversations with Ferris State University construction management students. They will be basically putting together a concept for a pavilion to be implemented near the disc golf in North End Park. That'll happen this fall. They will be doing the construction for that project. Depot is wrapping up, will be completed in May. And then hopefully we'll hear soon about our pool grant that we applied for, and we can start implementing the outdoor improvements near the Clay Cliffs and pool area, and then with the intent of 2026 to re-marcite the pool before the season starts. What you're going to see before you today is a list of CIPs, and one of which is this particular project, which is the Mitchell Creek Park. We'd like to refurbish the staircase, remove it completely, have it sandblasted, and then put in new boards. Hopefully we can get that project completed this summer. That's the intent at this moment. But I'll be bringing that back forward to you, because tentatively right now we have planned $75,000 to go towards that project. Resurfacing, these are the ones that everybody likes to see. So we have a number of mill and fills, and right now we are focused on the areas that you see here. You have Mitchell Creek, Hort, which is downtown, Darwin, Chestnut, Marion, and then we'd like to use DDA funds to address the parking lot across the street here at E&M and by Bernie's and where the farmer's market is. Sanborn Avenue is another one of those projects that's on your CIP list, and it's the intent to add curb where there is no curb right now, and then do a mill and fill in that spot too. Fuller Water Main is in its final designs. It still has to go before Eagle, but the intent is to have that be a project that we address this construction season. Does anybody have any questions about that one?
When are you planning to go out to bid?
I'm sorry?
When are you planning to go out to bid?
We hope to go out to bid this summer and have it be a summer-fall kind of project. It really is going to come down to Eagle and how quickly they can give us a permit for that.
Okay.
Hey, Scott.
Is that just a really old line, Heather?
It is an old line, yep.
Breaks a lot.
It has 10 clamps on it right now. Yeah, it's one of the main lines that goes from the State Street Water Tower to the Perry Street Water Tower. So we're hoping by increasing the water main from the 8 to the 12 inch, we can kind of address some internal issues that we've been having for a number of years. Mr. Gifford could let you know exactly how long that's been going on, but essentially we're hoping that this will balance the water towers so that they're operating at the same level.
Have the drawings and bid documents already been put together for these
They're in
designs?
the final stages right now, yes.
Okay, I just know the prices we got back for the water main replacement that we tried to do last year. We had to send back out to give them more time, and it came in over. It might be a better strategy to plan for a year from now versus trying to get in folks' schedules for the summer, fall construction season, that's all.
Sure. This project was approved last CIP round, so it has been in the queue and has been worked on for that period of time. We're just now getting to that very end of putting it out on the street.
I get that.
Birch Alley, you've probably heard me say this one a couple times, but it's been in the queue now for about 3 years. It's been bumped by Eagle and not really satisfied with the permits that we have requested, but we've got it in the queue and we've done everything they've asked us to do. And so that'll go out to bid as well.
What troubled them about that one?
The sewer main and the water main are close together. And so they like to have a certain number of feet apart. And because of our challenges with that project, we've got the plan to wrap the water main to secure the water.
Where is Birch at? In the city?
So you see Willow, 600 block of Willow and Cedar on here.
Okay.
It's kind of like an alleyway.
Yeah, essentially it is.
Riverview School.
Okay.
You wouldn't hardly know it was a street, really.
Okay.
Is that,
Yeah, the way this project came to fruition is that the homeowners there initially were interested in having their alley completely paved. It's not completely paved right now. And so upon doing further research, we identified that there were some issues with not only the water main, but then in the SAW grant, it called out that the sewer should be replaced. And so knowing that you're going to put asphalt over something that's been called out, we were just trying to be proactive than reactive, knowing this background information. Did I do that right? No. Sidewalk program, $25,000 is set aside for new sidewalk. So this is a sidewalk that will go near St. Mary's. And that'll gobble up the $25,000 of new, which is fine. And then we have a repair list of $25,000. We will be doing that internally with DPW is the way that the city manager would like us to address those. Again, sidewalk program, you're gonna have a grant agreement coming before you this evening. And this is what's going to be addressed is $200,000 in sidewalk that will be new. Probably the one that people will notice the most, in my opinion, would be the Hutchinson Street, as there'll be a sidewalk going down to the pool. get the kids from walking in the road, so that'll be a good one. Dial-A-Ride has some grant funding that they haven't used all. So we wanted to put in a break facility a number of years ago. Went out to bid, and the numbers just came back astronomically high. We had $100,000, and some of that money was used towards purchasing the hoist, which is at the garage, specifically for the Dial-A-Ride buses. And so we've kind of like slowly been picking away at that $100,000. And so the remaining funds will address these issues. Water line plumbing will allow for a countertop and kind of like a wash area for staff to use as a break area kind of component. They would like to see carpet and flooring and painting, just kind of sprucing it up. Right now, there's a window bid that's in the process of going out and approved by Dean with the state of Michigan. So once we get that all figured out with the state of Michigan, then the windows in the Bay Area will get replaced. Water treatment plants. So basically, you've already approved these projects through the CIP process, but currently we're out to bid for the clarifier repair and painting. That comes back in the beginning of April. And then Hills of Mitchell Creek Booster, you approved that project with Gerber. We're waiting on materials to show up. They have been sending us communications to let us know that materials are coming. So the plan is to have that project go underway this summer into the fall.
They're really selling lots up there. I don't think there's any for sale, and there's a lot of houses going in, so.
It's my understanding that all the lots have been sold. And last but not least is our big wastewater improvement project. You saw Scott just got in here, and he'll go over that a little bit further in detail with you if you'd like. But this is going to be a big project that is going to go underway really fast. So you should anticipate to see us coming before you in June for acceptance of bids, and then we'll go right into construction. And that's all of them.
Did Scott install those bearings backwards? Was that Scott?
Let's not talk about the bearings. Any questions?
A lot of work, Heather.
Got a lot of good people working on them.
Questions from the commission first? And from the public, anything for Heather? Please, Rosemary.
What about Woodward?
That down the hill?
Oh, the culvert?
Unfortunately, summer of '26.
Yeah.
Mark, the culvert is an issue, right?
It is, yeah. It's the timing of the funding for the replacement of the culvert. We're coinciding that with the paving, and that'll be the summer of '26.
Thanks, Heather.
Yep.
Now, can we have the approval of the minutes from the March 3rd meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Public comment not related to items on the agenda. Anyone? Things that aren't on the agenda. Hearing none, we'll keep moving into general business. We have a lot of very important things to talk about today. The first is a resolution approving the appointments to the Bird City Committee. Mark?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. So the Bird City Initiative would be something that rivals our Tree City status that we've had for 40-plus years at the city. It's kind of a newer thing through the Michigan Audubon Society, and it's a program in which you can be certified, so to speak, in terms of being friendly to our winged friends. And we have a committee. That's the first step that we take in the process. We'll be coming back to you if you choose to go forward on this with certain action items that then would get us certified. The point tonight is to hopefully draw Kathy's attention somewhat and make this known so there's bird enthusiasts in the community that would like to be involved. We would love to have their help.
It was interesting because 3 of us or 4 of us went to the Chimney Swift's presentation during Festival of the Arts, I guess. And the guy said, "Well, you have such great birds in this town. You really should be a bird city." So our city manager, who's an expert in many birds, but especially chimney swifts, grabbed onto it and said, "I think we have enough people to do this." And the people on the committee are bird people too.
Yes,
I noticed.
very much so.
Mark and Michelle are both on it. They have to have special approval for that too, right? Some kind of.
Yes.
So, do I hear a motion for the resolution approving the appointments to the Bird City Committee?
So, second.
There's a motion and a second. Further questions, comments? We also have turkey vultures, a lot of them, and seagulls,
And ospreys.
and eagles. Questions, anyone? That doesn't need a, I think that's an all in favor kind of thing. All in favor, say aye. That's not aye.
I think there's a lot of raised eyebrows.
Oh, sorry. Any comments, questions, anything about why you don't want a bird city?
What's that do with seagulls on the east side?
I don't think seagulls would be one of the target issues of the Bird City Committee, although it is a big issue for our community, and we're well aware of that. In fact, Rosemary, you'd be happy to know, I don't know if I've shared this with you, that Heather was able to find an expert from the Chicago area who deals with seagull mitigation techniques. It's not harming the birds, which I think many would be happy about, and some wouldn't. But we are taking measures to be able to make it less likely that there is nesting on top of some of the big flat roof areas within the town, and we're able to do that without harming the birds. So we are taking steps. I don't know if Bird City Committee will be addressing that directly.
She has a complete plan laid out, and it's gonna start soon, right, Heather? Because they're back. Amanda, did you want to comment or something?
No, I just thought that with all of the raised eyebrows, it seemed like maybe a roll call was
Raised eyebrows for the
James?
Bird City?
required.
Yes. Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. Where'd you get that?
I saw 3 sets of raised eyebrows.
Yes, please. Is it related to this?
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
I know a few years back, there was a issue with a bird nesting on the cell towers and giving us crummy cell service. Does the Bird City Initiative do anything to take steps back from what they were doing successfully to keep that endangered bird from nesting there?
No, I know all about that issue, and yeah, I think these are good items that our committee, now that we are formed, would be able to work on. That was turkey vultures that roosted, not nested, roosted on the Bjornson Street water tower. They didn't cause any problems, weren't a health hazard to the water, but optically it was not the greatest. And we found out through the USDA or the DNR, not sure which, that if you hang a effigy, they call it, which is a stuffed dead turkey vulture, that they are particularly sensitive to that. And it was hung up one day, and another turkey vulture has never landed on that water tower. That's how sensitive they are to it. Now they all roost about at the 800 block of Winter Avenue. So I know right where they're at. They're still in town. Nothing harmed the turkey vultures, but that was able to get them away from the water tower. And the Bird City Committee could work on things like that, sure.
Thank you. Other comments? Hearing none, we'll go to the next issue, which is the 2025 construction season maintenance and materials and equipment bid. Heather?
Yeah, sure. Every year we go out to bid for a number of items that can be useful tools to do maintenance in public works world, and we got pretty good bids. The numbers look good. One contractor that we use on a regular basis had forgot to bid, but it happens sometimes, so we'll work with what we have, and yeah, I'll
Good. Questions from the commission regarding? Prices look the same as the last couple of years, similar.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone? Public, anyone? Questions on the equipment and materials bids? Here, do we have a motion for the resolution on the season maintenance materials and equipment bid?
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions? Amy?
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, this is the fleece one, this is resolution. We have had so many resolutions on this wastewater treatment plant thing that I asked Mark today, this is like the 40th resolution. Mark, go ahead, fill me in. We've had a lot of.
Mayor, you'll remember, after we were awarded, the funding from the, state revolving fund, Scott was with us, Scott Hall's here from Policeman Vandenbrink was with us and, delivered a proposal to do the preliminary work to get going. Cause some, we were surveying, some of it was weather sensitive, we had to start, and so we got a proposal that came to you to get that engineering work started. But it's a huge project and we need to complete the engineering, do the final design, get us through bidding. And I think that's the majority of the work that's outlined in this proposal, Scott, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yeah, we'll come back once we get bids to have the final contract amount and then our construction.
So you're right, Mayor, we've seen this before in essence, but that was more of the preliminary type work to just get us to where we're at now.
Questions from the commission? Public, anyone?
Is construction administration included?
Not in this
So that'll
authorization.
be a second proposal, Mayor, or
Coming.
15th proposal.
Correct.
Is there a reason we don't include those altogether?
We'd like to get the final scope and construction schedule established so that we understand how long of a duration we're gonna be on site for the observation and assistance with that.
Okay.
Other questions? Is there a motion for the fleece contract for working on design and bid phase engineering?
So moved.
Second.
And there's a second. Questions, other questions? So why were they out putting flags all around my lift station?
Replacing that lift station.
I know, but you haven't done any of that stuff.
As part of this next authorization, we're gonna be doing a soil boring, in that area. Make sure we don't run into anything underground there.
Gotcha. Call the question, please. Go ahead.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. That was easy. Hey, Scott?
Thank you.
Yeah. Resolution approving the proposal for professional services from Williams and Works for a zoning ordinance update. Michelle?
Williams and Works, who is the firm that did our master plan, we went out for RFPs and selected Williams and Works process to help us out with the update of our zoning ordinance. We did receive a grant to cover the majority of the cost of the zoning ordinance update, so it's, the total is $51,125, and the grant was for $50,000. So,
Who gave us that grant?
it was through Mishta.
Mishta? Questions anyone has for Michelle? Hearing none, do I hear a motion for the Williams and Works contract for zoning ordinance update?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Further questions? Please call the question.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes.
Yes.
Next, thank you. Next, we'll move to the resolution regarding the capital improvement plan. Mark?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. As you may remember, the capital improvement program is a required item of the state. I think that's in the Planning Enabling Act, if I remember right. And so Michelle has been very diligent in working on the plan that you have in your packet, and I compliment her and all the department heads who study and submit requests and get us to this point. Also a compliment to the planning commission, who is really the steward, and that's making the recommendation on this plan to you. A reminder that none of this, if you were to approve this capital improvement plan, requires you to fund any of it. Or it does not mean that you couldn't add things to it. So this is not the funding of projects. This is the approval of the plan that we will take and implement, or try to implement, in the budget process as Carla and I work through that over the next couple of months. So, but this is a great guide, something that we find extremely useful, and again, is a required item, but I think we would try to do it anyway. It's again a guide that helps us think about what we want to try to get into our budget as we move forward. So happy to answer any questions. A lot of work has went into it. We do have a replacement schedule at your table that we had one numbered. There was a number switched basically under the water fund. The Bjornson water main is $161,000, whereas the State Street one was $1 million, and that was reversed in your packet. So, but happy to answer any questions, Mayor.
How do you think the capital improvement plan should be tied to the strategic plan? At all, or we've never seemed to do that really too much, or shouldn't it be?
Well, I think it would be, in a perfect world, I think we would have the strategic plan, which would outline sort of big picture focal areas that the commission gives us, and that would help us then figure out or plan for how to get to those, big picture visions. We don't tend to be very good at doing that, mostly because of timing. I think is mostly it. We've tried to have strategic planning, and it seems like every year, for probably a bunch of legitimate reasons, it gets delayed and pushed, and we're, instead of being in maybe November or December, we are in February or March, and
It's too late for the capital.
that's really too late, so we probably just need to do better on that and think better, but that's my thoughts.
Okay.
But
Might I suggest maybe next year we try something new, which would be to just go through the capital improvement plan from the previous year during our strategic planning session. And we don't have to dig in deep, but I think it would be good to turn through it and look at it, and as part of our strategic planning, then they're kind of following each other. And we can try it and see how it works, and
Somebody has to remember to do it that way. It'll come time.
it's
I
a good
planted 2
suggestion.
seeds, one today and the other one last week.
All right, thank you. From the public, anything on that capital improvement plan? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the capital improvement plan?
So moved.
In a second. Other questions? Amy?
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. Next is a resolution on the mayoral appointment to the Brownfield Development Authority. How many years ago, Mark, did you have one set up when Hanchett was going on? Many years ago.
So Hanchett property, I believe, was purchased in 2013, and so it would have been shortly after that so some history, Mayor. We, previous to that time, were covered under the county's Brownfield Authority. The only brownfield that we've ever done in the city, possibly ever done in the county, I'm not sure on that, is Lake Osceola State Bank, and that was actually done under the county's Brownfield Authority. We purchased the Hanchett site, and city manager and commission at that time decided that it was important to have our own Brownfield Authority, and established one and appointed members. And then the Brownfield, we did a lot of Brownfield work with Fleece and Vandenbrink on the Hanchett site, but we never got an applicant. We never got a project, as you all are well aware. And so that committee then languished, right? We didn't have projects to work on. And in fact, a number of the people, moved and changed, and our board was defunct, so to speak. That gets us to today, in which we are poised, I think, potentially at two very urgent type applications. One potentially being the theater, and another being a development of the 20-acre parcel that is immediately north of Mechanic Street. So background on that is the state has created new legislation that allows housing developments to use tax increment financing to be funded as an incentive. Well, tax increment financing is a staple of brownfields. And so the state then assigned that process to work through brownfield authorities. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the site, that there's any contamination. It's just because they associated that the expertise of dealing with TIFs to brownfield authorities. Well, we don't have one up and going, and so that gets us to this point of somewhat scrambling a bit to get folks appointed, and I think we came up with 5 great people who are willing and interested in serving, and that's what we have here.
Questions from first the commission?
I have a comment and then a question.
Please.
Stacy Weaver is my employee. I'm disclosing that. I don't know if it makes any difference.
No, it's not a conflict. You can vote on it, but as long as you disclose it, that's good.
I can put her on there. Were these people vetted? You know how we went through?
They were.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
I'll have the same, Emily Coles is my daughter, but I plan on voting.
Yeah, you're not barred from voting. You can vote.
I believe Emily Coles was the only one who served on a brownfield
She was on the.
She was on the original.
before,
appointment, yes.
previously.
Well, and I have professional relationship with Tim Vogel, so I might as well just get it all out there. I think I'm good in the other ones.
And this motion says Fleece is going to be that person.
No, this motion appoints the board.
Appoints the board.
Which one am I at? Oh, that's the next one.
It's on-
Then we'll talk. Good. Is there other further questions from the public as well about the Brownfield Authority appointments? Questions, anyone? Is there a motion to approve my appointment to the Brownfield?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Further questions? Hearing none, please, Amy.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes,
Gunther,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Now we'll go to G, which is a resolution accepting the proposal for consultation from Fleece for the establishment of the Brownfield Development Authority. Mark?
Yes. So as Michelle and I work on these potential projects and the idea that we could have a TIF for housing, we could have a brownfield, environmental studies, potentially a brownfield plan for the theater. We have both realized how much we don't know. It's just, there's a lot to know and a lot to understand. And Michelle and I have some basic knowledge, and the committee has almost none. We really feel it's important, we gotta find somebody to give some training to the board and to staff. So Fleece and Vandenbrink has done the work for brownfields for us in the past. They did the Hanchett site. And they're our consultant for professional services, and so I reached out, and Trevor Woolat, did I have it close?
Yeah.
I butchered it, sounds like, maybe, but anyhow, was able to, we talked, he's been super helpful, and put together the information that is in your packet, and he's able to provide the type of training and other brownfield expertise that we just desperately need. So it's not something we had budgeted, but it's vital, we think, to be successful as we receive applications to the Brownfield Authority.
So Brad, how does it work if more than one commissioner wants to go to that education session?
More than one you can't have a quorum there, so you can't have 3.
That's what I'm
Although
saying.
there are rules for educational things that may exempt that, like for if you go to conferences, that's exempt.
How about this one? Cause I know that I wanna go, cause I don't know a single thing about a brownfield.
If it's limited to training and there's no decision-making or anything like that, then you can do it.
How do you envision it, Trevor? What kind of training session?
Training look like?
Yeah, what does it look like?
So it would be a presentation on how the brownfield program works, what the obligations of the authority are under statute. What does authority have to do when a brownfield plan comes before them? How it, different ways that plans can be approved, what kind of things can be in brownfield plans. And then also establishing policies and guidelines so that when plans come before you, you treat them all kind of equally. Also, you would put that on your website, so if a developer wanted to submit a brownfield plan, they could see what your policies and procedures are. They would know how to structure that plan. They didn't waste a lot of time going back and forth. I would also point out that it may not be budgeted, but brownfield plans, the authority gets to capture some of the TIF for administrative costs, and it can be used for that.
So how long would the first session be for say if some of us commissioners wanted to go?
I would say it'd probably be at least an hour. Typically, we'll run through a presentation and then do a lot of kind of question and answer. Then we would probably do a second session where we talked about policies and procedures, and a lot of that can be done kind of remotely or by email. Send you a bunch of examples that we use in other communities, and you can say, well, I like this one, or I don't like that one, or we can talk about the pros and cons of different kinds of policies.
So that second session's the one I'd be more concerned about if you've got more than 3 present, because then you've got a quorum that might be debating or deliberating on policies and procedures. You wanna be careful about that, so.
Yeah, plus I find it, I know how we all talk, and I think it would be very difficult for us to not talk about business if we're all, where there are more than 3 of us. So when the Brownfield Board meets, is that gonna be a public meeting?
Oh, yes.
So they could be recorded and put on Facebook, and we could all view them.
You can notice it as a public meeting if you're gonna have a quorum of commissioners present.
That's different, I'm just saying we all have access, if it's gonna be,
Yeah, we would
all
treat
of
it
our
like
other public meetings are,
Right.
we all have access to it.
Right.
And then, as you said, if there's a supplemental meeting, so is there just 2 meetings, or like how many?
Oh, I'm sure we're gonna
I
have
mean,
many
I'm
meetings.
guessing it's way more than
Yeah.
2 meetings.
There will probably be more
based
than
on
2,
what I
yes.
see. But, I mean, Mayor, that meets my needs,
That's good
because I know I could follow up with the city manager. and-
Same with the other 2 working souls.
It all depends on the day. I've been known to take a day or 2 off from work to do more work.
Okay, is there a motion for the resolution for the proposal of consultation with police for Brownfield Authority?
Before you do that,
Yes,
I have a
ma'am.
quick accounting question. If my memory serves me correct, is that budgeted under the city commission's budget? Is that the 101? And what's the 880?
The 880 is the, it's like discretionary, and then the 50 on the end is the Brownfield Development Authority. I consulted the state chart of accounts for that number.
So the 880, when you say discretionary, that's all right, we can talk about it
Okay,
later.
sure.
I'm a little confused on the account number. It
Yeah.
just looked strange.
No, that's from the state chart of accounts.
Okay, that's all right, I can get with you later on that, I'm good.
Keep right after it.
I'm on.
Other questions?
Please. Did you call the question out? Did we?
No, I asked
Okay.
him, I said I had a question.
Any other questions for anyone?
I do have.
Is there a
one.
motion? Oh,
Yeah,
go
let's
ahead.
do, nope,
Let's
let's
do
do
the
the
motion.
motion first, and then we'll ask questions.
Is there a motion for the police contract for Brownfield Redevelopment Authority?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Now further questions? Karen?
This proposal is for just the training and the establishment of the board, correct? Rules and procedures.
So yes, it's for the training, it's for helping establish policies and procedures. But I included other things that typically we do for communities on Brownfield Authority. So I represent a number of communities, And sometimes communities like to have their plans written by their consultant. Sometimes they want the developer's consultant to bring it. Sometimes somebody comes and says, hey, I want to do a project, and they don't have a consultant. So typically, we'll either review plans that are submitted for a project, or we will write the plan for you.
Okay. But this does not include the 2 projects that were
Does not
considering-
specifically include those, no.
Okay.
And
That
there's
would be
a
in addition.
yeah, because you can pay for those from the TIF generated by those projects.
Okay. But you provided an approximate
Yes.
budget for those. That was my only question, Mayor.
Trevor, are you an engineer or a
No.
development person or?
Sorry.
Don't sit too close to him, he's a tech engineer.
No, I'm a geologist by training.
I'll be. Interesting.
So a lot of brownfield work came out of originally environmental consulting.
Right? Didn't it start as cleaning up
Yep.
bad sites?
And they added housing.
There you go. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Could we have a vote, please?
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Next is a resolution of intent to support and offer incentives for development of a movie theater. This is probably the most asked question of the mayor on a daily basis. Will there ever be a theater in Big Rapids? So, Mark?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. This is in my experience, working for the city, a unique resolution. I can't remember one quite like it, but the theater, as you say, is a point of interest to the community. So staff and others have worked with developers who are looking at trying to open the theater, one of which is with us tonight, and was unable to make it work. And so we then have been approached by another developer, Mr. Jordan Stansel, who's listed specifically on this resolution. And it became apparent that we really may need to incentivize this project to be able to make it ever reach the finish line. And so the items that are listed here, again, this is almost something a little bit maybe similar in some of the things I said about the CIP. Approving this resolution does not approve any of the things that are listed here. It is a document that Jordan could use as he is pursuing financing options and things to show that there is something tangible or could be in terms of incentives from the city. The things that are listed, I'll start with the purchase of the parking lot. There are 2 parcels that AMC owns. One is the building, essentially, and one is the parking lot next door. This outlines the idea of the city purchasing that parking lot and turning it into a public space that could be used to make the downtown more interesting, make the space around the theater more inviting, and that is a tool that then he is going to be able to use as he applies to the state MEDC, and they, I know, in our conversations, find that attractive. So purchasing the lot for $90,000 would get cash to the developer and provide the city with a tangible asset, being that parking lot, which is now a parking lot, and the idea that it would become something else in the future. The other, there's 2 other items that are specifically listed. One is an OPRA, stands for Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act, and it is a method in which the city can provide a tax abatement, essentially, to a commercial redevelopment project. This one likely could qualify. The developer would have to do all the due diligence to fill out the application and get all the needed materials, and then could come back to you at a later date and ask for it. So you could abate the taxes on the building and its improvements for a period of up to 12 years. So this outlines the idea that you might consider that or would likely consider that at some point in the future if he successfully applied.
And that's subject to state tax commission approval ultimately. so-
Correct, that goes to the state for final approval. It's approved locally and then goes to the state.
And what percentage do they get off their taxes?
It's a lot, Mayor. Commissioner James probably could speak to it in that you're only taxed on the land. You're not taxed on the building or its improvements. So I wouldn't know what percentage of the bill it would be, but it would be high. That you would be reduced, right? I think we saw that it's currently, do you remember, Michelle, off the top of your head? I'm not gonna say, cause I don't know that I
And I didn't
remember.
look at it currently
Yeah.
either, but it's usually broken down on the city's website which is.
Yeah,
They have a land value, which isn't a true land value usually.
I would go out on a limb, Mayor, and say it's something like an 80% reduction. It's
In property
dramatic
tax.
in property.
I
tax.
think it would be too.
Yeah, it would be a dramatic reduction, and it would save a lot of money over a 12-year period if you chose to go that long.
And does somebody give us money to make up for that?
No,
It's just a gift.
that's a gift, and we've done it a number of times around this community. The Pioneer Building downtown was a recipient. The Social Security Building on State Street was a recipient. I'm sure there's others I'm missing, but we've done these. It's somewhat common in redevelopment to try to incentivize redevelopment. The third one is really an interesting kind of more recent thing we found out about it, and thanks to Trevor and his expertise. So Oprahs abate the taxes, so you cannot capture them and do things with them, right? It's kind of the opposite of a TIF under a brownfield, right? The TIF requires the developer to pay taxes. You capture components of that tax bill, qualified millages, and then you're able to pay the developer back for certain aspects of the investment that they made. A lot of those being, environmental work. I did not know that many places do both. They offer an Oprah for X amount of years, up to 12 years, and then have a brownfield plan that's approved at the time of redevelopment that would kick in post the Oprah. Didn't know that was what they did. And here's interesting, good timing that Mr. Jordan Stansel joins us. And so what we have come to learn is that there was a dry cleaner immediately close to the theater property. Commissioner James remembered that it was in place there, just south of the parking lot, I think. The backroom building is what I tend to refer to it
It
as.
was right connected to the parking lot, yes, you are correct.
So, and what we found out is that other buildings in the immediate area have had to go through some remediation because of remnants that may have come from that dry cleaner. It's a likely source of contamination that's affected nearby properties. So it has become, and another thing that we're learning is that modern commercial financing requires these environmental studies. Phase 1, Phase 2 environmental reviews, and BEA stands for
Baseline environmental assessment.
Baseline environmental assessment, which essentially establishes a demarcation in time of what you're responsible for, I think. Again, we have a lot to learn on this stuff, or I do anyway. And so this talks about the potential, in this resolution talks about the potential of the city helping, supporting, reviewing, entertaining brownfield incentives as a part of this project too. Again, they'd have to go through all the normal steps and apply and have plans and work through it. This resolution is voicing the commission's opinion, if you care to, that you would likely entertain these types of incentives to try to get Jordan to be able to develop the theater. That's essentially what we're doing.
We probably have all heard that when the Nesbitt Fairman was getting its remodel, not the original, but the remodel, they needed a bunch of money, right? So they had to get an environmental, and they found a dry cleaning chemical beneath the Nesbit Fairman. And because people live there, it's stricter than if people are sitting in a movie theater. Is that correct?
Yes, there are two different standards.
Yeah, so because people were living there, the housing commission had to attain huge sums of money to take care of that gas that was underneath their building that they discovered when they bored on it, right? So that's been done, so
And we found
it's
out,
worrisome. Dr. Sharp may have even had to do the same thing, only nobody lives there, so he didn't have to do the huge thing that the housing commission did for the Nesbit Fairman. But he had to do something, I don't know exactly what, it's private, he's a private guy, I don't know if, does anybody know what Dr. Sharp did underneath his building? I have no clue.
I think you'd have to go to the county for the plans.
And so it doesn't surprise me that if the theater came up with also a little problem there with all, apparently there was a dry cleaner on every corner back in the day. Who's old?
That's a little exciting.
Well, where was Pete's original dry cleaner?
Where it is now.
Well, that was always there?
Yeah,
Okay, so
always there.
there's my 2 cents. So those are the things that are in that resolution. Brad, you wrote it. Any comments on it?
No, I the only comment I would have is along the lines of what Mark said, is that this is not binding on the city. It's more of a aspirational, these are the things the city is supportive of and is going to cooperate with, but it's not a binding contract at this stage. This is a preliminary, kind of vocal voice of support, public voice of support.
Thank you. Others have comments? Please.
Hi, I'm Chris. I've been working for almost 2 years on.
Oh, Chris, could you use the mic?
Oh, sure.
If you don't mind. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. My name's Chris. I've been working on trying to get my hands on the Colonial for about 2 years now. There have been hiccups along the way, and we are still, according to AMC, in the running for the purchase. It did kind of surprise me to hear that there was another person going for it. My big question for you would be, I know that in our original talks, we had talked Oprah and we had talked Brownfield. Is it possible that the third option that you had placed in there with the purchase of the parking lot would apply to other developers, not just the gentleman that you have listed?
this resolution, Chris, specifically talks about Jordan, but there's no reason that we couldn't bring it back at a different time, another resolution, or amend this one, I suppose, to talk about other developers. I don't think there's any reason, I believe that the city is very interested in having the theater redeveloped. If that was you or Mr. Stansel or somebody else who may not even be here, I think that interest would persist. I don't have any reason to think that would change in any way. So that's just my opinion. I can't speak for anybody else.
I think we're all on the same side. We all want to see the movie theater come back.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that, as somebody that has his hat in the ring, that I'm being offered the same opportunity with the same effort behind us as what somebody else is.
You know, I think that we would try to put effort in a lot of different places. Chris, I don't think we thought I thought there was something where it just didn't work out when you were trying to get it done. Is that not true, or?
Well, what had happened was we had an approval for a loan, and then the Goshen stuff kind of went really big. And I was asked a very telling question. I was asked, why should we invest in your community when your community seems to not want an additional 2,500 jobs? Now, I'm not trying to open that, but that is what I was told, and they pulled the loan offer that they made to us. So we have been working on getting another loan. I was told that it's in the works, that it's just about finished and approved. I'm just, I've been waiting like I have been patiently, and I've been twiddling my thumbs.
Okay.
But I have been in constant communication with AMC to make sure that they understand that, hey, we're still interested. I mean, for goodness sake, they let us set up, you know, all of our stuff in there. You know, we still have probably about $20,000 worth of equipment in there that we set up for when they had people through. So, I mean, as far as I know, we're still in the game.
Thank you. Others? Yes,
You want me to say anything about our project?
please, your call.
Yes. Microphone. My name's Jordan Stansel, and my great-grandfather founded the Rialto Theater in Grayling in 1915. We've been open there now. It's going to be 110 years in May. So we know a little bit about movie theaters and what it takes to get them open and to keep them open. And when COVID came, I like to say it wasn't the first time we had to close for a pandemic, because we closed in 1918. Flu, yeah. And that didn't stop us either. So we, after COVID, there were basically 2 markets in this part of Michigan that opened up as available markets where you could put a new movie theater. And that was due to AMC theaters leaving some of these markets. And that was Alpena and Big Rapids. And so 2022 was the first time I talked to Mark Gifford about this project, actually. And I also went to Alpena. And just as the cookie crumbles, you might say, Alpena happened first. And we had a good path to get things going there, and we got it going. And so we opened that AMC closed location. Now it's called the Sanctuary Cinema. We sold 65,000 movie tickets last year, our first year, so it was pretty great. We sell beer and wine. We have the big recliners like you have in Grand Rapids. That's what we're going to put in this project as well. And it's gone from being a complete eyesore in the center of Alpena and closed for several years to now, as I say, 65,000 admissions in 1 year. So we're pretty proud of that. Now that that's been open for a while and operating and it's successful, I came back to Mark and said, hey, remember me? And we talked a little bit about the project. We currently have the purchase agreement with AMC Theaters. We're under contract. We're probably going to close. The current deadline is the end of April. So we look to be closing on that property very quickly. And from that point on, I think it's going to go pretty fast. I don't close theaters. I don't sit on properties. I'm not a rich developer that's going to have this in my portfolio and then go off and do something else. I run movie theaters, and I don't make any money without selling movie tickets every day. So the only goal that I have, whether it's MEDC grants or whether it's selling parcels to whoever or whatever, I don't care. My deadline is, when does the theater open? Okay, so we have tradesmen who are pretty close to being ready to start. We have bids on all the movie theater equipment. Lead time on this stuff is a couple months. If that building was in shape today, meaning you need a roof, I've always noticed that with buildings, if you don't have a roof, you don't have a building. But once that stuff's done, once the environmental comes through, everything's done, I mean, that place is gonna open in 2 months. So I don't know when the 2 months starts. Obviously, that's where we need to get to. So the gentleman that just spoke, love to chat with you. If you're interested in investing in this, let me know. I'm sorry that it didn't work out. Happens a lot. We have inspected the building thoroughly. I didn't notice $20,000 worth of much of anything there other than junk. So if you put equipment in there, it's already been stolen, not by us. Sorry about that. But I don't have much else to add. I mean, anybody that wants to talk to me is welcome to. You can look at my projects in Alpena, alpenamovies.com. Grayling is graylingmovies.com. The Rialto Theater in Grayling and Alpena is the Sanctuary Cinema, and they're open every day, all year. So that's what we're going to do here. And the reason that I hope that you can pass this resolution is that the thing with movie theater that makes it tricky is that you have a very good market here. And what makes it hard is that you have a very dilapidated building, number one. I know this is public, it's probably on video or something. It is. Don't want to be too tough on some of the other companies in our industry, not going to name any of them, but some of them are well known for going into a community and leaving without, even cleaning up the mess. And I think we've all seen that with corporate America in a lot of these towns. Anybody that's I'm from Grayling, anybody that's from, a smaller town in Michigan knows how that happens. Your problem in this community is that you have a great market, but you need to do a lot of work on that property. The purchase price of the property is very reasonable. However, there's a multiple of that needs to go into making that building usable again. So, you need all new rooftop units, the HVAC, it needs to be completely redone. The roof needs to be redone. We're not gonna do significant renovations in the building. We're gonna operate it as a 4-screen movie theater. The screen sizes are between 22 and 24 feet wide. That's pretty good. Grayling, we have 28 feet. Alpena, we have, I'll tell you how we did it up there. We have one auditorium with 95 chairs, one with 41, and one with 21. Now, what you're gonna end up with here is you'll have one room that's pretty small, maybe it'll be about 30 or 40 chairs. It's just the way the walls are configured. The rest of them are gonna be about 50 or 60. A lot of that'll depend on the sight lines. We're working with Irwin Seating in Grand Rapids. The chair model that we're using is called the Spectrum Zero Gravity 4. That's their top of the line. We put that in Alpena, and I gotta tell you, it's just, people just love it. It's heated. These will all be electric recliners. They're gonna have the tray table so you can put your giant popcorn on there and everything. What'll happen there is you'll have probably, if there's a really big movie, we'll play it in 2 of the auditoriums, but with staggered times, because frankly, 60 chairs in a room isn't really as much as you would like to have. The capacity in Grayling, where I just have one screen, is 110, for example. And that's obviously a smaller town. Like I said, Alpena, we have 95 in the biggest room. So if we're going down to like 60 chairs in one of the rooms, you're probably gonna play, like let's say you have Barbie, or let's say you have your Sound of Freedom, or some of these bigger pictures, you'll play only 3 different movies, right? So you'll have the biggest one on 2 of the screens, and then you'll have, 2 other pictures. When there's not as big of a blockbuster, then you would run four pictures. And that's how I think you would do it in this kind of market. Like I say, the issue why we need public support is the fact that the building itself has been left to rot. It's actually not in as bad a shape as some people might think. We had the inspection done last month, and they're saying things like, that don't scare me. I own a 1930 building in Grayling, so I've seen a lot of flaws and a lot of cosmetic things. It doesn't bother me. So the building, I think, is pretty good, but it needs a roof, needs mechanicals. Cosmetically, everything's a disaster. So we're gonna take everything off the walls and just start over. But we're not gonna do big renovations to the structure. I don't need a parking lot. What I need is liquidity, because the other part of the movie theater problem is that the equipment that's gonna go in there, and those big nice chairs, and those laser projectors, which are coming from Christie, and the Dolby sound, that costs more than the building and the renovation. And that's where you get into the problem with finance, is that what the finance people really like real estate, And so when you go in there and say, hey, here's this building, the building's gonna be worth this or that, they like that part, but then when you say, oh, here's all this equipment, they don't really like that part as much. And so that's where MEDC, I think, is gonna help us. I think that any assistance that the city can provide, whether it's with brownfield assistance from what you were talking about when I came in, that's going to make that happen. So the financing of this is extremely doable, and from a business point of view, it's a very, very good project. But getting all the pieces there, that's going to be the trick. So if everybody is on board and everybody's aligned, which is me, which is the city, it's gonna be the state, it's gonna be local banks, because the big banks don't wanna come downtown at all. That all has to go together. I think the total project budget's $1.6 million. That's the number that we're working with right now. So that's from soup to nuts, okay? You know, I think the parking lot is, I don't need parking. What I need is to have something stylish and cool. And, you know, we've talked about this, I've talked about it with Michelle, talked about it with Mark. If you guys can take that space and put something that the public likes, I don't need parking spaces. I need trees, I need gardens, I need benches, I need a skate park, I need a food truck. I don't care, as you can tell. Put a swimming pool there. It's up to you.
No, you're worth
You know what I mean? But you
got one.
Put a Olympic diving. I don't know, but just, you know, whatever you want to do. You know what I'm saying, right? And it's like,
We got it.
yeah, make that space awesome. That's worth far more money to the movie theater than a parking lot, because the first thing that a lot of people say to me is, well, where are people going to park? And I say, I don't know. I'm not in the parking lot business. Don't care. Alpena, we have no parking lot. 65,000 tickets last year. Grayling, we have no parking lot. It's much smaller, but you know, you have enough parking downtown for people to use this movie theater. But what you don't have is, you know, you don't have the financial package in place and the know-how to operate the theater. Like I say, that's what we want to do. So that's why we're coming to you with this, I guess. I mean, that's really the rationale. So I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have for me. I'm open to
Questions
anything.
from the commission first? Anyone?
Do you have a copy of the purchase agreement that you could provide to the city manager?
Yeah, I mean, I can email it to you from my phone. I don't have it like right now.
As
but-
a follow-up to this, if you could provide that, that would be
Yeah,
great.
100%.
Other questions from the public, please? Hearing none. Thank you, Jordan, for driving down from Grayling, I assume.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
I hope it wasn't icy.
Well, not this time of year.
Well, you never know. This morning it was icy. All right, do I hear a motion of the intent to support and offer incentives for the development of a movie theater with Mr. Stansel?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Further questions? Hearing none, please.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you both for coming. Next, I think we've done this before, but we didn't get our grant. Is that right, Mark?
You're right, Mayor. Remember last year at this time, the commission authorized staff to submit an application to the DNR Trust Fund for a 3/4 mile accessible loop trail at Clay Cliffs Park. We were close to being funded in terms of, they rank them all with a number system. And we were on the cusp, I would say, of being funded this year. Many times projects have to apply 1, 2, 3 years to get funded, and so this would be our second year. I think we can make some adjustments to make our application even more viable, and we're looking to apply again.
And this is a handicap loop that somebody in wheelchair can go all the way around and enjoy the
Yes.
creek and some of the little
Yes.
area.
I believe that they call that an accessible trail.
What did I say?
I think that's what you meant.
Why, she's always correct.
Oh my God. Is there other questions anyone has on that? Does it interfere with if we get the pool grant?
No interference, Mayor.
Okay. Others? Is there a motion for the nature trail at Clay Cliffs?
So, second.
I thought it was Cleveland Cliffs. You remember Cleveland Cliffs in the UP?
Oh, up by the mines.
Steel company.
Anybody? Is there a motion to be given?
We did.
We did.
We did.
Could you call the question?
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. Next is the resolution for the acceptance of the Michigan Department of Transportation Shared Streets and Spaces Grant. Heather, that's yours, isn't it? No, Mark.
Just a big thank you to Megan Epley in putting this together and getting us to where we need to be in terms of this grant with MDOT to improve sidewalks. There's some really good projects here. You know, the headliner is the sidewalk down to the pool, but this Birch Street one is great too. So I mean, there's just a number of ones that probably we'd have a hard time doing on our own. I mean, there would be expensive projects, and we have a grant, and this is accepting that grant for $200,000 from MDOT to do sidewalks at 5 different spots across the community, and this is going to be a big improvement for us.
We don't have to match any of that?
No match, but it came, I think Cody thinks it might come a little bit in over.
Oh.
Over for when we bid it out.
Okay.
Might end up being more than $200,000.
$1,000, but nothing that said that we had to match.
Yeah, I didn't remember a match on that
There
one.
is no match.
Yeah, it's a unique
It's the
one.
same one we approved last year?
I guess so.
We applied for it.
We applied
Yeah,
for it.
we
This
applied
is
for it.
the.
And we got it last year?
And we just got it in the fall, I think.
Yeah, we were told that we received the grant and just now get to this.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. Is there a motion for acceptance of the MDOT Shared Streets and Spaces Grant?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Further questions? Amy?
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
We made it through it, Mark. There we go. Unscheduled business, please, anyone? On the commission. Anything?
I would just like to say it's amazing that we all want to fight over saying yes and no and all of that first. So
You mean with multiple people?
yeah, it's always who's gonna get it out first.
Any other business for the good of the group?
I have one quick thing, Mayor.
Yes, David?
Just kind of a quick announcement for the good of the people. The end of this month here, Ferris State University, in cooperation with First Michigan, is hosting a robotics competition at Ferris. The high school team from Big Rapids is going to be competing at that competition, so it'd be nice to see some people out there to cheer us on. I know Reed City will also be there, and they will have a big group usually comes with them. I believe the mayor's doing opening remarks on Saturday morning. I put him up to it, so I will be there with the Big Rapids team. I'm a mentor for the team, so yeah, come out, cheer us on. We actually are going to another competition this week in Lake Superior, so yeah, we leave Thursday for Lake Superior State University.
Very good. Rosemary, you haven't said anything today much.
I just said, wow, thanks.
Very good. The two of us, attended the Ferris groundbreaking for their new and very different dorm they're doing. And they're not the first to put it on the end of a football field, but they're in the top 10, I'll bet, right? Karen, would you say?
I don't know
So
exactly
it's not
where
that
we
many,
fall,
but-
but it'll be the
So
first
on
one.
the north end of their football field, they're gonna have a dormitory that's gonna be like forming the north end of a bowl. And, it was a nice, ceremony today.
So a student, if they wanted to watch the game, let's say it's,
You can
you know,
watch
Look out their window.
30 degrees out, they wanted to watch it from their room, they can. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
And our own city commissioner is the project manager for the new Jim Crow Museum build, which I think is really cool. And that got started.
This week.
Very
Yep.
good. Big projects at Ferris. It's gonna be torn up for, Pink said 2 years you'll be torn up. Others? We're adjourned.
All right, Brad. Out of here, buddy.